yourself or your family, and which country you're from, and what you want to get out of the class, right? Because since you're paying money and you're sitting here, right? Precious Monday morning, so maybe you should get something out of it. So we're going to talk about that. So let me introduce myself. My name is Joann Yoon, and what I do is I am a professor, of course. I'm teaching, but during the weekdays I'm also interpreting. I'm an interpreter for school district and for lectures, and so if I'm teaching and say I'm an English speaker only, and then there are Korean students sitting in here and they don't understand English, then I need an interpreter, right? So that's what I do. I'm a so interpreter as well, and I'm a pastor. So I have ministry going on as well. So you can call me whichever you want to call me. My hobby, I haven't thought about this. I love traveling. I love cooking. I had fish soup yesterday. I made fish soup. Yeah. Crabs, fish, vegetables. It was delicious. Salmon.
Is that Korean style?
Probably, because I looked up the Korean recipe, website. So salmon soup, salmon and crabs, and I put everything in there. It was delicious. I love traveling, so I've been to different countries. I've been to Mexico. I've been to Hawaii, which is part of the United States, but it's like going to a different country, right? I've been to Australia, Israel, Japan, China, Hong Kong, and some other places. I passed through Germany, but I didn't get to really see anything. Yeah. And something interesting about myself or my family. My dad he established the Korean Special Force, like the first Korean Special Force, like Green Beret. So that's something interesting about my family. I am from Korea, South Korea, and I hope to have a lot of fun in this class. I hope my class is not boring, and sometimes it gets boring and you can't help it because there are certain materials that we're not really interested in, but we, for the sake of the content of the class, you have to learn it, sit through, and endure. I hope you don't just endure, but enjoy. And yes, and I hope to get to know each one of you individually as a person as well. Because I'm like a person who want to get to know people, when I'm surrounded by a group of people, and I just know them very shallow, like I go crazy. Like that's my personality. I want to get to know people, and I want people to know me as well. So yeah, hopefully we'll have a chance to do that. And so, all right, True, you're on.
Hey everybody, I'm Trung. What I do, I'm designer right now for kitchen, for cabinet.
Oh, wing, right? Kitchen. You heard it.
And my habit is about sport.
Wow.
I want to I really like soccer or badminton
Badminton.
and swimming sometimes.
Wow.
And something interesting about it. Oh, I'm always laugh whatever I see, like something boring, or I always laugh. Feel something, see something, find out something or new, like funny new, or like game show to make me laugh every time, because I think the life better when you laughing.
Oh, okay. You're a positive person. Yeah, I agree with that.
And I come from Vietnam, and I want to get out of this class. Like I want to know more people, meet more new friends. Yeah.
And practice your English.
Yeah, practice my English.
Awesome. Welcome back. How about you, Rose?
Yeah, hello everyone, my name is Rose, and I just graduated from Cal State Fullerton in linguistic master program.
Linguistics.
Yeah.
You're gonna catch a lot of grammatical errors. when I speak.
Yeah, we in the program we analyze the differences and the similarities between different languages.
Oh.
Yeah, and actually for me it's very difficult
Really?
because I was in university in China. Then after graduate and I worked for 3 years,
Mhm.
and after that I came here to do the further study.
Uh-huh.
So I joined the master program.
Yes.
Yeah, and I want to be a teacher later.
Oh.
Yeah, so I want to take more class like teaching certificate.
Oh, like TESOL or something like that.
Yeah, not really. That is called what? Credential.
Oh.
Yeah.
So you want to be a school teacher then?
Yes.
Oh.
K to 12.
Huh?
K to 12.
K to 12. Wow.
Yeah, maybe at first. Yeah. And then my hobby, maybe taking care of my kids. Because I
Oh.
have 2 daughters.
2 daughters.
Yeah, the first one is 3 years old, and second one is 5 months.
Oh, 5 months. And it's a miracle that you showed up in this class.
And because I have to take class here, so my husband do the remote.
Yeah?
Yeah, he can work at home today, just today, on Monday.
Hello?
Every Monday.
Hello?
Yeah, he
Yeah.
takes care of the babies.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm so glad your schedules worked out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it gives you a little bit of break, from being a mom, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I only take care of them at weekend.
Oh, really?
Daddy can do that.
Oh, good.
Yeah, we share. We
Good.
yeah. We'll bring down things.
Yeah.
We'll make it better. Something interesting about my family is, as I said, I love my kids
Mhm.
and I enjoy our life. We have take them to the playground,
Yeah.
park,
Oh.
yeah, to see the movies.
Right.
Yeah, so we can enjoy that also.
Yeah. What's the latest movie that you watched together?
Peppa Pig.
Was it fun?
Yeah,
Oh.
New Year movie.
Uh-huh.
It's very famous in China.
Oh, is
Yeah,
that
I
right?
come from China.
Oh, okay. Wonderful.
So I've been here, as you said, I can know a lot of people and know new things I never met.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and get more information about life.
Yes.
That's it.
Good. Getting more information.
Yeah.
I can do that. I can help you with that. Wonderful. Cal State Fullerton is a good school.
Yeah, I
And
heard that
especially
the
for teaching.
credential in there is very good.
Yeah.
So
Teaching is very.
because I came from China, maybe I can teach Chinese later.
Oh.
Because I did a sub teacher for Lordland High School.
Oh, already.
Yeah, in Chinese department.
So in here or back in China?
Here,
Oh,
Lordland
here.
High School.
Oh, okay. Which school?
Lordland.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah.
You already started teaching. You're on your way.
Yeah, I just a
Good.
teacher.
Oh, well, it's a good step.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you had to do like a what is that? What is the test that you have to take to become a sub? You know what I'm talking about, So you took that.
Yeah, I'm doing the practice now.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Congratulations.
Yeah.
So which grade do you prefer?
Middle school, high school?
Really? Okay. Here's one of a kind. People want to avoid that age,
I know.
It's tough,
Yeah.
But you've been studying, right? So like, what
I have
grades?
I want to be a college school
Uh-huh.
teacher,
I
but
want to be a professor.
for now I think it's for me. I don't think it's right time.
Mhm.
Maybe I can practice from middle school and then high school
Right.
and college and
Well,
university.
then you know how they turned out to be the way they turned out to be, right? How they grew up and everything. It really helps. So like, have you subbed like high school, middle school?
Not yet.
Not yet. So elementary, what kind of substitutes are you?
In high school, just one.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But just one semester.
Really? What did you teach?
Chinese.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
There's a high demand these days. A lot of people want to learn Chinese. A lot of people want to learn Spanish. Yeah.
A lot of ABCs here.
Yeah.
Their parents can have no time to teach them and send them to the school.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought Chinese were very, very, strong about like keeping their language, no?
But they don't have time, maybe.
Oh, just working too much, huh?
Yeah.
I
Maybe
see.
they speak Chinese at home, not too much.
But that's like basic conversations, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not like being able to read or write documents and things like that.
The writing is very difficult.
Yeah, especially spelling. I can't believe it. That you have to memorize like 1,000 characters or something like that, right?
I have different tones.
Good for you. Well, welcome, Rose.
Thank you.
All right. Hello,
Johnny.
Brother James. Come on in. Everyone is just so far away from me. I feel so alone. Like, do you mind stepping up just one row? Like, do you mind? Oh, I feel so lonely. That's fine. So, honestly, so forgive me because I have a very, very bad memory. I may call you Carol again. Don't be offended. Tell me about yourself.
My name is Audrey. I'm housewife. And my hobby is painting, and the gardener.
You garden. So do you have a backyard?
Yeah.
What do you grow?
Fruit and vegetable and
Oh.
flower. Yeah.
Wow, flowers. Like what kinds of fruit?
Papaya.
Papaya.
And fig.
Oh, fig.
Dragon fruit.
Dragon fruit.
Passion fruit.
Wow. You got like unique
I
fruit.
love
All the fruit that I love, right? How about like, I forget the name for it, but there's like a fruit that looks like a guitar. It's Chinese fruit. Yeah. So what do you call that?
Pipa.
Pipa. Do you have pipa?
No.
No?
Because when in the sea, we have about 10 years and have the fruit.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, it takes patience. Wow, 10 years. Welcome. Welcome back. Wow. Wonderful. Can I visit your garden from different trees? Enjoy. Wonderful. All right. So
this is tree here. I'm from Taiwan.
oh, okay. Great. So and you have a daughter too, right?
Yeah.
How old is your daughter?
My daughter, first daughter,
Oh.
now is the finish year, 12. This year, she will go to the college.
You did not tell me about this. Okay, so you only told me about like the little baby. So I was like, like she's a young mom and everything. Her first one is going off to college.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
The second one, my son, this year will go to the high school.
High school.
Nice.
Wow. All right. So you're finishing up your first one and then starting the third one. Okay. Well, it's a blessing, right, to have children. Great. All right. What you want to get out of this class? No expectations? Oh. I thought you had expectations. But she's always like attentive, so like I don't worry about Audrey. Welcome. I forgot your name. Vivian.
Hello, my name is Vivian.
Uh-huh.
Come from Taiwan.
Uh-huh.
Now I don't have job.
Mm-hmm.
I stay at home all day.
Okay. I wish I had your life.
In here I
Bicycle shop, okay.
Yes. And I like watch TV
Uh-huh.
and cooking.
Cooking.
Mm.
What do you cook?
Before I cook Chinese food,
Mm-hmm.
now I learn to bake.
Bake?
Yes.
Oh, like cakes and
Yes.
pastries.
Cheesecake.
Wow, cheesecake. You can make cheesecake. Delicious. Oh, okay. Oh, maybe on the last day of class, we can treat all of us.
And bake.
Uh-huh. Wow, wonderful. I know how to cook Chinese hot pot.
That very easy.
Very easy. Put everything
Everything.
in the spoil. Right?
And my English is not good.
I think you're speaking fine. You're talking with me, you know, really fun.
I hope I can more later.
Uh-huh. You want to improve your English? Wonderful. Welcome. Oh, which country did you say?
Taiwan.
Taiwan. Okay. Welcome. All right. So, what is your name again? I forgot.
Roy.
Roy, that's right. Roy has been into my class how many times now? This is the third class?
I think so.
Okay. Great. Welcome back. You look, I don't know. You look happy. Are you happy?
Yep.
Good, good. All right. So, tell us about yourself.
Okay, my name is Roy. What do you plan to do is I'm doing sushi chef right now.
Oh, you are a chef.
Yes.
All right. All right. On the last day of class or middle of the class, anytime. Just bring it in.
I try.
Uh-huh. I
Um,
love sushi.
yeah, I love sushi too.
Maybe he makes 10 and then take one out of like one batch, right?
And hobby, I don't know, but I like to watch the movie and listening music.
Oh, really?
Yes.
So tell us about like your couple of like favorite movies.
Favorite one is Inception.
Oh, Inception.
Inception. It's
Wow.
kind of hard, like a difficult story, but you know,
Yeah.
it's really complicated, right?
Yeah.
I really love that.
Wow. What did you like about it?
I don't know. It's like I just like the story, you know.
Yeah? It's a very complicated story.
Yeah.
Must be a brainy
With the
person.
dream, you know.
Yeah.
What else? I just watched Avengers right now.
Avengers.
Yeah,
Everybody
that's really
likes it.
fun, you know.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's it.
Great, great. Action movies.
Yeah.
SF.
It's that.
Uh-huh. Wonderful. All right.
Yeah, from Japan.
Uh-huh.
Yes. I wanna do. I don't know. I'm just looking for my other hobby or something. You know.
Your other hobby.
Yeah. Right now I'm getting more time.
Really?
Right now, so I'm looking for like another hobby or job.
Uh-huh.
So
Really? Well, you're already working. Is that part-time?
it's the main job, you know.
And you have
I
time?
still have some time right now, so I'm
Really?
looking for job and hobby.
Wow, you must be an active person. Like, I would be totally wiped out, like, if I have a full-time job, you know?
I'm pretty much tired. It's like I'm sleeping or I'm wasting time right now, so I want to do something else.
Uh-huh, like what?
I
What
don't-
energizes you?
I don't know. I want to try everything. Right now I'm getting to gardening.
Really?
Yeah.
What are you growing?
I just grow strawberry and like blackberry.
Really? They're kind of delicate. They're hard to grow.
Yeah.
And it's because they're sweet, like the insects come, right?
That's hard, but yeah, I just did it a couple piece, you know.
That's good. Good for you. Gardening keeps you healthy too, because you have to keep watching them one of my friends, she has a green thumb. Everything that she grows, like they grow so well. So like the cucumbers, her cucumbers, we're not, like other gardens have like small cucumbers. Hers is like this with thorns, and she has tomatoes, lettuces, all kinds of fruit, you know, like oranges and things like that. And she would get up like 3 or 4 in the morning to actually water them. She had sprinklers too, but you know she had to manually turn them on so that by the time the sun rises, it'll be dry and the bees will come so that they'll bear more fruit. So she was so diligent, and at nighttime she would do something. So it takes a lot of effort. Yeah, but it's worth it when you see the fruit, right? Yeah, awesome. Welcome, Roland. Come.
Hi, my name's Paul. I'm a business owner.
You're a business owner. What do you do? What kind of business is it?
I sell tea and coffee.
Oh, tea and coffee. Can I ask for a name?
TNT.
TNT. Wow. TNT sounds dangerous. Right?
My hobby, I like to read a book.
He's a big reader. I mean, he came last quarter and he had a book in his hand, cell phone on the other hand, and he was just reading. Awesome, and he's a learner. Yeah, some psychology books, huh? All right.
Something interesting about myself, my family, and I never give up.
You never give up. That's good. That's a good habit. It's a character that's needed for a successful life.
Yeah, I never give up.
Yeah, I can see that.
I come from Thailand.
Thailand.
What you want to get out? What do you want to get out of this class?
Mm-hmm.
Love. Love.
Love. Oh, okay. We'll see if we can talk about that, and you know, hope you can get to know some of the classmates and connect with them, and we'll see. All right, welcome back.
Go.
Introduce yourself.
My name is Eric.
Eric.
Yeah. I'm a student right now, and then my hobby is to.
What are you studying? Here, or you're just a student here, or elsewhere too?
somewhere else too.
Oh, is that right? Can I ask what you're studying?
Photo.
Photo. Oh, wonderful. Well, there are beautiful sceneries around here. I'm sure you have a lot of, places that you can go to and just take a good picture. Wonderful.
And then my hobby was to watch movie and then also watch soccer.
Watch soccer. Do you get excited?
You get very excited.
World Cup.
Yeah.
I shouldn't be eating, you know, like I can't have dinner and watch soccer at the same time because I have a, I can choke over it, like I was screaming. I tried one time and then never try again. I can't even eat popcorns when I'm watching soccer. That's how much I'm engaged, Wonderful. All right.
Came from China. What do you? So I don't know the last question. What do you want?
Any expectations for this class? Why are you here?
No,
Just taking classes.
Just get an experience.
Get an experience. Hope this is a new experience for you. Something a little bit different than photography. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Hi.
My name is Xiaomeng. I'm Xiaomeng.
Xiaomeng.
Yeah.
Xiaomeng.
Chinese.
Okay. Yeah. You may have to tell me like 29 more times.
I'm student study here,
Yeah.
and the hobby is shopping and sleeping. So something interesting.
Shopping and sleeping. Tell me more about it. Like so. So where do you go for shopping?
Costa Mesa is South Coast.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Costa Mesa has a lot of shopping centers.
Yeah.
So like, tell me like brand names.
Brand name Steven Madden or some. I have the other one is called the Cos, C-O-S. Cos. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, like I used to shop a lot. Now I'm not doing it anymore. So like I'm like oblivious as to what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But Costa Mesa, I know that is a good place for shopping.
Something interesting.
So you're from China as well?
Yeah, I'm from China.
Are you guys married or?
Yeah, married.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I wanna learn more knowledge about the
Bible.
About the Bible. Oh,
Yeah.
right. Do you go to church?
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Hope you get something out of it.
Okay.
Yeah. Shengwang. Shengwang. You have to correct me if I'm saying it wrong, because I used to be really annoyed by my high school teacher. She's wonderful, but she's very loving and caring, but she would call me Yoon. And I'm like, that's not my name, and that sounds like a German boy's name. So like, let me know if I'm butchering your name, so I can correct it. All right, Jessica.
My name is Jessica.
Uh-huh.
I'm
Family woman.
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. So do you have any children?
one son.
One son.
Yeah.
How old?
He's a high school student.
Oh, difficult time.
It's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay. Yeah. Sometimes he's fighting for me.
Really?
But I'm tough man.
You look like a
18 years old.
Uh-huh.
You will go.
Oh,
Yes, 3 years.
wow, you're
Listen to
counting.
me.
You better behave because I'm gonna kick you out in 3 years, right?
Yeah, he's a teenager.
Right.
Yes,
he's a teenager.
teenager. Yes, maybe sometimes he will.
Of course.
Oh, yes, it's crazy.
Uh-huh.
Some think something is crazy and to
Sure.
do something is crazy. Yeah.
They're experimenting.
But I will catch him.
Sounds like a Chinese tiger mom.
Yes. In China, say tiger mommy.
I know how that goes. They're like, learn Chinese, learn piano, learn, I don't know, whatever. Like,
No piano, maybe music. He's no good.
oh, is that
But
right?
his study is very good.
Uh-huh.
And
Get all A's, otherwise you'll get dinner.
no, his study I no time follow him.
Uh-huh.
He children study himself.
Uh-huh.
Himself study himself to do something.
Yeah,
I
that's
don't
good enough.
follow him.
Uh-huh.
Only beautiful me and maybe cooking,
Uh-huh.
laundry,
Sure.
clean house.
Sure.
Yeah, but he study
Uh-huh.
by himself and play
Uh-huh.
himself with his classmates.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, and it's interesting for we are.
Uh-huh. All right.
I'm a hobby. I'm like dancing. Belly dancing.
Oh, you've learned ballet before.
Here I with my my neighborhood. Neighborhood or woman.
Uh-huh.
10 maybe 12
Uh-huh.
people and go to the
Ballet lessons.
ballet dancing.
Oh, really?
1 week.
Wow, you must be very flexible.
It's okay.
I can't imagine, like standing on the tiptoes and like splits and
Yes, belly dance is let me keep the skinny.
You're already skinny. You don't have to be more skinny. Hi.
I'm from China.
Uh-huh.
I want to get this class. English is not good. I need to study
Mm-hmm.
for you.
But Jessica, do you know that this is your second or third class, right? With me. Second?
Yeah.
Your English is better than the first class. Do you know that?
Oh, I'm
Do you
just.
feel that? Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah. It's smoother. You're talking more. You know. Hi. So yeah, it is improving.
Thank
You
you,
know?
teacher. Maybe this year, I will go to the Valley College. Go to the adult school.
Adult
Study,
school.
yes.
Good for you. Good for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, learn computer or something.
Yeah, you have a teacher, have a computer,
Yeah.
have a lesson.
Wow, good for you. She's an active lady.
I want my English is more good, more.
Yeah. Your English is getting better.
Thank you.
I'm glad. All right, James.
Hi, everybody. My name is James. Sorry, I can't speak English.
And you are speaking it right now.
In China, please. Now I return.
You're so James was a police officer in China, but now he retired. That's what he's saying. Hi, welcome back.
I'd like to cook, drive. My favorite, learn that.
Oh, you like cooking and
But
learning the
just Chinese Bible.
Chinese Bible. That's wonderful. And you serve in the choir. You told me that you enjoy singing.
Okay.
See, James, his English is getting better too.
Yes.
Yes. See? True. Do you feel it? So last quarter, like he was not saying anything, right? But he's wonderful. I'm glad. All right. Awesome. Let's see. Introduce yourself.
Oh, my name is Mark. I'm from China. So many classmates from China.
Yeah, you have familiar faces, right?
Yeah. Something. Oh, I just like travel. For travel.
Oh, traveling. Okay. Which countries have you been to?
Country. Not many countries, just here.
Domestically. So, like, which states have you been to?
I just come to Jersey Tree National Park.
Oh, Joseph Tree.
Jersey Tree.
Yeah, Joshua Tree.
Joshua.
Did you go to the Palm Springs?
Yeah.
It makes your skin smooth, right?
Yeah. And we can see the star.
Yeah,
at
it's
night.
beautiful at nighttime.
But yesterday is cloudy, so we didn't see that.
Oh, okay. You went as a family, huh?
Yeah. With a
How many
policeman.
children do you have?
One daughter.
One.
Yeah. So it's glad here to meet everybody.
Good. Get to know some people, huh? Join us for lunch. All right. Last but not least, Angel. Oh, you're not.
I'm a student and sometimes I help out my aunts.
So helping out aunt's company sometimes, all right?
I'm from the UK.
United Kingdom, right?
My hobbies are
Oh, you like reading. Like what kinds of books do you read?
Mostly novels.
Novels,
But
okay.
it's like
Uh-huh. Yeah. So Angel studied psychology before.
I hope that it's us to learn more about
Mm-hmm.
and to get to know about
Awesome. Welcome back. All right. Our family man. He brought his wife in last quarter. I remember that.
No, she was my cousin.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, but I asked you, and you said that she's your wife. Maybe you misunderstood my question then.
No.
Oh, all right. You made your mistakes. All right, I'm so sorry. All right, I'm fixing it. So tell us about yourself.
My name is Yusuf.
You said?
Yes, I'm a special educational teacher.
Oh, you're a special ed teacher. I didn't know that. I thought you were just a preschool teacher.
We talked before.
Huh?
We talked before.
Oh, really? Oh, I'm sorry. Alright, so after like 3 weeks of break, like, you know, I can't remember anything.
I'm a kindergarten teacher.
Oh, okay.
I
That's
graduated.
right, you told me. Oh, now I
Yeah.
remember.
Remember? I like swimming, camping, fishing, painting, drawing.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
So, where do you go for fishing?
Red Sea.
To the Red Sea?
And
You mean the Mediterranean?
yeah,
Oh, so like it's not locally. You
No.
fly out.
no, not yet.
Oh. What do you catch in the Red Sea?
I don't know the English name.
Oh, is it right?
That one, yeah.
I've been to Israel before, and I didn't go for fishing, but in the Galilee, what do you call it? The Lake of Galilee. Yeah,
Yes.
there are Peter's fish,
I don't know.
and there are many clams. Like the clams are like giants, you know. Like you can just pick them from the because no one is eating. I don't think Israelites are allowed to eat like shellfish. I don't think. So like it's everywhere. So you just go in there, swim, and then just scoop out the shellfish, put them in your pocket, walk out and cook and eat.
Yes.
That's what we did. It was really fun. So go to Israel. It's worth checking it out. And Peter's fish is giant. Like it's really big, and you can't finish by yourself. It's really tough. It's got like be careful with your throat. Awesome. And what else?
I will be a pilot. This is my childhood dream.
Pilot. You want to be a pilot? Yes.
Yeah.
Are you gonna take lessons? Why am I doing this? You're gonna do this. Okay.
Next month.
Next month.
Yes.
Oh, good. Did you sign up for a class?
No, next week.
Oh, okay. Good.
With my
good.
friends.
Oh, all right. So, like, do you want to fly like international airplanes or?
Yeah, Turkish Airlines.
Oh, Dutch?
Turkish Airlines. Turkish.
Turkish. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So you can go to Red Sea, so you can fish.
Yes.
Alright.
I am from Turkey.
Uh-huh.
What's your? I want to learn something about the other religion. I am wondering the other religions.
Alright, awesome. Great. Alright. Am I missing anybody? I'm not missing anybody, right? Alright. So welcome back. My name is Professor Joann Yoon, and you can call me Professor Joann, or you can call me Professor Yoon. Alright, and this class is called the Survey of the Old Testament, 3 Writings. If you don't have the booklets, please get the booklets, because we're going to read through That's something that we do like throughout the course. And it's called the writings. And it's an interesting name, right? What's up with writings? All right. Why is there an S, especially a linguistics major? Like, you're not supposed to have S at the end, after ing. All right. So we're gonna talk about what it is now. So basically, we're learning about the Bible, right? We're learning about the Bible. Bible is a Christian book. That talks about, what comes to your mind when you hear the word Bible?
God.
God? Okay, good. What else?
Pray.
I'm sorry?
Pray.
Pray. Okay, God and praying. What else? Jesus. What else?
Christmas.
Christmas. Okay, good. Yeah, sure. Because I didn't know Jesus, or I didn't go to church, but on Christmas Day, some church people would just hand out leaflets, and they would give us like a stocking with chocolates. And so at nighttime, I would get that, from a Santa Claus. They mixed up Santa Claus with Christianity, but anyway, it's okay. So I was always like ready for the chocolate. I didn't go to sleep until midnight because I knew that they were coming at 12. And so yeah, Christmas is definitely associated with that. So Bible is the word of God. God. God spoke the word, and people heard it, and they wrote in guidance of the Holy Spirit. So it's a combination of God's speaking to us, and then human effort to, even to just make the paper, because in the ancient world, this kind of paper was not available. They had to make like, have you heard of like papyrus? Papyrus is like a tree, you get the tree bark out of that, and then you just smash it on the rock, and you somehow make it into paper, like piece by piece. So it took a lot of effort in order to just come up with one page, and to write with an ink, like they use like natural ingredients in order to come up with an ink, and then they would write it like each letter. And so a book was considered luxury. If you have a book in your home, you're considered as a rich man, in the past. Yeah, like these days, like how much did you pay for this? It's like a couple of, Starbucks, right? But in the past, you had to be a millionaire in order to own a book, right? And so, yes, there was a combination of God speaking to people, and then they had to make paper, they had to put, effort in order to come up with this thing called the Bible. And the Bible, in original language, it's called a canon. And canon means a ruler. Okay, so when you were growing up in math classes, did you have like a ruler? Measurements, right? Centimeters or inches, and so that kind of ruler. So, Bible is a ruler? What kind of ruler is that? The reason we call it a canon or a ruler is because it's by which we measure our lives. So that's like the standard. The Bible is the standard. Can you talk later? All right. Thank you. During the break, after class. I know you're making friends, but maybe after class, okay? So a ruler, you measure something, right? So say, I hope this does not happen to you, but I put on some weight, okay? I gained some weight. So when I wear pants, it's like, why is it so tight? Did it shrink in the washer or dryer? Maybe. And then how do you know if you actually gained weight?
Wait yourself.
Weigh yourself. Okay, that's good. And another way, weigh yourself and be realistic. Like when you see the increased number, like don't rub your eyes. Like just believe it, right? What else? What else can you do? Well,
Try another sentence.
huh?
Try another one.
Try another one, okay? Just to make sure, right? Well, you have a measure. So, some kind of a ruler. It's not a ruler, but like a tape measure, right? And so measure yourself, and if it increased by 1 inch or 2 inches, hope that doesn't happen to you, but it happens in life, And then, what do you believe? No, this is not happening. I didn't gain weight. Okay. Do you believe your feelings, or do you believe that number? The number. The number is more accurate. All right. So that's the function of a measure or a ruler. Is that right? And so if you gain weight, you can check it by measurement, by a ruler. And that's the same way as the Bible. When something happens and you want to know how to be blessed, and you want to know how to be cursed too, because you want to avoid that, right? And if you want to know God's will, the Creator's will, what do you have to do? Turn to the Bible and measure yourself against the Bible and see if your life is in alignment with God's will. That's one major function of the Bible, and that's why it's called canon, which means the ruler. So yeah, just felt like sharing that little tip, little information, if you were looking for information. All right, and we're talking about the Old Testament. So there are 2 parts to the Bible. One is called, what again? One is called, what I just said? The Old Testament, right. And the other one? New Testament. So there are 2 parts to the Bible. So what does a testament mean? We talked about this class. Old comers and newcomers. Old Testament means Old Covenant, Old Promise. And New Testament means new promise, right? So it's about God's promises, both books. So why is one called Old and the other part called New Testament? What is the dividing point between the Old Testament and New Testament? Jesus. So before Jesus, Jesus came on the earth, right? On a certain date, right? He was born in a manger. So before he was born, because he's the Messiah, right? So before Messiah, it's called the Old Testament, Old Covenant, Old Promise. And after his birth, it's called the New Promise, New Testament. And we're talking about before Jesus then. What we're learning is before Jesus. But don't be disappointed, because we're going to cover that too. But the Old Testament consists of at least 3 different parts. And we already covered, for those who are here for the first time, we're going to refer back to those 2 other parts as well. This quarter, we're learning about the 3rd part, but the other parts were Torah, which is the first 5 books of the Bible. Okay? So the first part of the Old Testament is called Torah. The second, you can call this second as well, but depending on how you order it. So the second part of the Old Testament is called prophets. We talked about the prophets. And then the 3rd part is called the writings. So finally, we're kind of wrapping up the Old Testament, in this class. And we talked about the fact that the Torah is about the laws, and laws that tells you how to be blessed and how to be cursed, how to be in alignment with God's will, right? And the law is not just laid out number 1, number 2, number 3. No, it's all woven together in the narratives, in the stories of the Israelites' history. So Torah looks like a history book too. Like when you read it, it looks like a historical narrative. But in the narratives are woven God's laws, so that we can learn by reading the stories. Sometimes we read the novels or children's books and things like that, or parables, and you get something out of it. You learn a lesson out of it, right? So Torah is like that too. It looks like a story, like a stories after stories, but in the stories you find the lessons about how to be blessed and how to be cursed, right? In the prophets, all right, after 3 weeks of break, all right, what about the prophets? Tell me a little bit about the prophets. What are the functions? Who's a prophet? I hope you're not thinking about the business prophet. I'm talking about P-R-O, P-H-E-T. This is not a business 101, all right? So, what about the prophets? Who's a prophet?
Gives God's message.
Oh, a deliverer, a messenger of God's message. To who? To people, and including us. And what's important to us is, of course, we learn from the history how God spoke to other people, but it's more important how He's speaking to us, right? So when we read the Bible, especially the parts that's called prophets, we need to pay attention because we not only learn from the historical lessons, what happened in the past, thousands of years ago, but why is it important to me today is more important, right? So let's pay attention to that. All right, awesome. You said remember something about the prophets. I'm so glad. Like I'll be so sad like throughout the whole day, like the entire week, if none of you remember anything about that class. All right. So a prophet is a messenger of God. What did they do in delivering the message to people and to the kings? What happened when they brought the messages to people or to kings? So they were told, because before Jesus, before the Messiah came, it was a little bit of different situations. So ever since Adam and Eve, because they fell away, they gave into the enemy instead of listening to God, their communication line with God was cut off. And therefore, people could not hear God directly anymore. So then, but God is a loving Father. He wanted His people to hear His messages. So He chose another alternative, which was through the prophets, to deliver the message through the prophets, so that the people who cannot hear God will be able to somehow hear God through the prophets. So the prophets existed because they wanted to deliver the message of God that people could not hear, and especially to the kings, because kings and leaders are very important. They make important decisions. You know, the minimum wage in California increased. Of course, people vote, but you know, there are leaders who actually lead people, you know, encourage people to vote for certain things, right? And there are leaders with certain values, and they push for it. So leadership is very important. And even in the past, the kings were very important because they made all the decisions. It was not a democratic society. You know, kings would make a decision and it would become an edict. You know, the laws will spread and people just have to keep it. You know, tax laws, traffic laws, military laws, you know, like if you reach 18 years of age, you have to be drafted into the military. You know, it's mandatory. Things like that. Kings would make laws, and they carried very important responsibilities. And therefore, if they make the wrong decisions, have you seen leaders making the wrong decisions? Presidents, you know, cabinets, Senate members, House members, you know, like House representatives, making the wrong decisions for us, and it just impacts generations after generations. You know, it impacts schools, it impacts our daily life, you know, economy, world politics, you know, international relations. I don't want to get into this, but just to touch on it, U.S.-China relations. All right. Some of you are smiling because, you know, some people make some
Now seniors.
crazy decisions, right? And sometimes it gets just intensified, and so leadership decisions are very important. And so when the leaders make decisions, and especially when they make the wrong decisions, the prophets were there to rebuke them. There were checks and balances. King, and they were actually risking their lives because king could kill them. So they would go to the, if you're a faithful prophet, then you would go to the king and deliver the message. King, you are doing something wrong, and God is not happy with you. If you don't fix it, you will be cursed, and your people will perish. And you better change your mind. So if they challenge them, and then the kings do not change their decision and keep going the way of destruction, they get destroyed, and their people get destroyed. And by the way, if they humble themselves and change their mind and say, Lord, we sinned against you, I changed my mind and I will change my decision, even at the cost. And if they turn around, God was so happy, He is so merciful, He would forgive them even thousands of times. He forgave Israelites thousands of times whenever they turned away from their sins. And so that was the role of a prophet. Right? So we talked about prophets last time. And finally, we're talking about the writings in this class. The writings, if you take a look at page 1 of your booklet, writings, there is a reason that there is an S at the end. So they had different authors, different parts of the writings. Each book was written by a different author. But however, it was not the author's idea. It was God's idea that was transferred into people, and different authors throughout centuries, they would write books, and that they came to be the writings. Angel, could you please read the first part? Roman numeral 2, writings. The Ketuvim.
Ketuvim includes political books, Psalms, Proverbs, and Job. The
Megillah.
Or scrolls. The Song of Solomon. Ruth.
Lamentations.
Lamentation of Jeremiah.
Right. Ecclesiastes. That's right.
And Esther.
Right.
Prophecy. Daniel. And history. Ezra.
Nehemiah.
And one
First.
First and Second Chronicles.
That's right. So writings include poetical books and one prophecy. So most of the prophetic books belong to the prophets, but Daniel belongs to the writings. And history. So basically history and poetical books, like literary genres. Okay, those belong to the writings. Right. So they're the books that we're going to talk about in this class. And we took a look at the time chart for writings, right? We took a look at this chart even before. All right, so if you look at the third column or third row, then you can see United Kingdom. All right, UK. United Kingdom, 1051 through 931 BC. Do you see that? Yeah? So, basically we're talking about the books that were written during that period of time. And you can see in bold prints, right? First Chronicles, Second Chronicles, Psalms, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, Psalms. And if you take a look at the second page, you see the fourth row saying exile, 605 to 538 BC, Lamentations and Daniel. Exile, what is an exile? Some strong country comes and takes over, and you have to, you're taken as captives. So you don't have a country anymore. Other countries have taken over, and they took away your people as slaves or servants. And so that's what happened to Israelites during this period of time. And then you can see the last row, and it says return from exile. All right, Ezra, Esther, Nehemiah. So these are the, return from exile, meaning, all right, so finally something happened, and the conquering nation could not have control over the Israelites anymore. And therefore they released the people and they came back to their homeland, is what it means by return. So that's what we're talking about. And the first book that we're going to talk about is the book of Psalms. Okay? Book of Psalms. All right. And so, Rose, can you please read Roman numeral 3, Psalms?
Sure. Psalms designed to be the prayer book for people waiting for the Messiah. Messiah. Written to join the Hebrew
Torah.
A collection of poems from David, Moses, and other Jewish writers.
Right. So it has many psalms. Like how many psalms are there? 154. Like many different psalms there, and they are written by different authors. It's not just by one person. So the authors included David, Moses, and other people. And there are even people who are not Christians that were included in the poems. All right. And Suha, can you please read themes for us?
Themes, jump, hymn, and prayer. Reminds the Israelites to remember God's faithfulness and wait for the Messiah's first and second coming. Teaching readers the dangers of
Rebellion.
Rebellion and the benefits of obedience.
That's right.
Recaps the Israel's history with Moses and the present picture of Christian worshiping God as King. Salvation and the time.
So these are the most important themes of the poems, right? All right. Roy, can you please read two? Title?
The title, Psalm and
Psalter.
Come from the
Septuagint.
The pre-Christian Greek translation of the
Old Testament.
Traditional Hebrew title is Tehid. Even though many of the Psalms and Psalms are Tefillah.
First. So, yeah, good. So the title is Psalms. P-S-A-N-A-N-L-M-S. Okay, Psalms. So the title comes from the Septuagint, it meaning, so originally the Old Testament was written in the Hebrew language. Okay, Hebrew language. It's one of the oldest languages in the world, if you studied linguistics. And it's one of the languages that hardly ever changes, because languages change, right? So would you say you're conversational Chinese or which language do you speak? Turkish. So the old Turkish language, have you learned that before, like in high school? Old Chinese, no? There's Old English, right? If you compare the old language to today's language, is there a difference? Major differences. Different vocabulary words, and grammar was different, spelling was different, everything is different. So like if you read the old language, some people have difficulty, although it's the same language, because the languages evolve over time. But the Hebrew language is one of the languages that never changes. So there are dots, say, like this. This dot, oftentimes when a language evolves, it gets dropped, it gets added, or the location changes and things like that. It oftentimes happens. And even, the main stem may change. This can change into something like, I don't know, can change into something like this. I don't know. It can change over time. But Hebrew language has not changed. Even the single dot has not changed. And so very interesting. Yeah. So today's Jewish people, they can read the old Hebrew, no problem, and have no problem understanding because it has not changed over thousands of years, right? The title Psalter came from the Septuagint. Septuagint is a pre-Christian Greek translation of the Old Testament. So the Bible the Old Testament was written in Hebrew language, but time changed, and there were different kingdoms that took over. And there were like Babylonian kingdom, Persian kingdom, Greco-Roman, and then Greek, and then Roman, right? So there were kingdoms that actually, the world powers changed, right? And during the moment when Greek actually took over, they were the world power, right? Greece. And they, during that period of time, this whole Bible was translated into a different language because, what's the universal language today? English. English and French, maybe, right? Spanish is very popular in California and Texas, but not outside United States. If you go outside United States, it may be useless. It's worth learning, but it's not a universal language, right? So English and French, right? And I have to say English, right? Just like that, in the era when Greece was the world power, Greek language was a universal language, right? Just like English. And so today, many of the books from your own countries and from my country are translated to what language? English. So there are English translated books everywhere, right? Just like that, in this period of time, in this period of history, everything was translated into Greek. So including the Bible. And so the Bible was translated into Greek. And so then, the titles change when you translate it, is that right? And so the title Psalms and Psalter come from this Greek translation. And the meaning, so original Hebrew title, what was the original title then? The original title was Tehillim, which means praises, or Tefillot, which means prayer. So original title was praises or prayers, and then later the Greek translation called it Psalms, and that's why we call it Psalms Day. Do you know? Okay, so Rose, I'm picking your brain. So which language did English originate from? What's the root?
You mean the traditional English?
Oh no, I'm talking about like the language.
The
language tree. Keep thinking, Rose. One. I think. I'm not sure about this. No. No. Think. Think. You learned this from your class. Which origin does Chinese have? You need to help me. People. Chinese language, where did it come from? Along with other languages. You tell me, which origin? I know where Korean language came from.
Oh, it's Sami language.
Huh?
Sami.
Sami language? Chinese?
No, English, Latin alphabet.
I'm not quite sure about that. Is that right, Rose? Would you please check for me by next week?
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, they all came from Greek. So that's why they have the common roots. You know, they sound kind of similar, you know, when it comes to, even Spanish. If I remember correctly, they all came from the same root. Yeah. So, I'm trying to brainstorm and come up with an example. Right now I'm blanking, but anybody who's familiar with Latin language? No? French? No, I'm trying to check the root, you know, like say, you know, I don't know if I'm, I don't know if I'm coming up with a good example. Say word exciting, that's English, right? Then say, I don't know if it's true, but I'm just giving you like a similar example. So it can be parsed into something like this, right? 3 parts, is that right, Rose?
Yeah.
Yeah? So then in English, it's exciting, and then say French, it's something else. But it has the same root, like something like this. Or maybe something like this. Alright? German, maybe, I don't know. Something like this. I don't know. You know? And then Spanish, maybe something like this. Alright? So the same word, they look a little bit different, but they have the same roots, oftentimes, because they came from the same language. So please check for me, Rose. If I'm wrong, let me know. So if I remember correctly, they came from the Greek language. And so the interesting thing about the Greek language, it was a universal language. All right? It was a universal language. And so it was so widespread. Everybody spoke Greek. You know, how many of you are here to learn English, improve English? All right? Yeah. And how many English institutes and tutors have you seen? Many, right? Everywhere. You know, English institutes, English tutors, they're everywhere. Why? Because everyone wants to learn English. So that was true in Greco-Roman world. Everybody wanted to learn Greek. And so it was very popular, and it was so widespread that the Bible at that time, when it was translated into Greek language, the Bible also reached everywhere. So something very interesting about the 2 languages. So the Old Testament was written in Hebrew language. The New Testament was written in, or translated. Originally written in the Old Testament was written in Hebrew language. The New Testament was written in Greek language, interestingly. But the Hebrew Bible, the Old Testament, was translated into Greek language. So the Greek language has both of them. Now, they reached everywhere in the world at that time, but the Hebrew language does not change, although it was not a universal language. So the Old Testament is one of the most preserved literature in the world. because nothing has changed. Even a single dot has not changed. Yeah? And so the Old Testament is the most well-preserved books. Versus the New Testament is most widely spread book. Do you understand? Yeah. And maybe there's a purpose behind that. All right, so number 3, collection, arrangement, and date. Audrey, can you please read it for us? On page 3.
Collection and
Arrangement.
date. The collection of collection put into its
Final form.
by
Post-exilic.
post-exilic and temper. Prisoner
Completed it.
who calculator is covered in the third country. The thing of time called the Red Book of the Second Temple.
Second temple, that's right.
The Book of Instruction in the faith and in full
Order.
Hmm?
Full order.
for order,
Godliness.
governance.
Thus, guide.
That for the life of faith in accordance with the law. The
Prophets.
prophets and the
Canonical.
canonical
Wisdom literature.
wisdom literature.
The prayers of David. All right. Eric, can you please read the rest of the section?
The prayers of David, the songs and the psalms, of the psalms of
Korah.
The psalms and or song of
Asaph.
Asa, and the songs of Asaph. Frequently used the divine name
Yahweh.
while
Psalm 42.
Yeah. Psalm 42 to 72. Book 2 make frequently use of
Elohim.
And divided into 5 books. Page 1 to 41, 42 to 72, 73 to 89.
All right. Yeah, thank you. All right, so we talked about the title now. So it's prayers or praises, you can call it, right? So let's take a look at what it looks like. If you have a Bible, please turn to the book of Psalms, Psalm 1. James, it's Psalm 1. Verses 1 through 6. Let's see what it looks like. What does the book of Psalm look like? All right, everyone, can you see it? Is that large enough? All right, I'm helping you sit at the back, which I should know. All right, so we're gonna take turns reading one verse at a time. James, you can read it in Chinese language if you want, or you can try English. I think your English is fine. So, James, started from James, and then, what's your name? Selma? Selma. So James, Selma, Vivian, Audrey, and Rose. So like, let's go around taking turns. Can you please read it for us? James, verse 1.
诗篇的第一篇，不从恶人的计谋，不占罪人的道路，不做亵慢人的座位。
Are you done? Verse 1?
你读还不？
So he just read, Blessed is the one who does not walk in step with the wicked, or stand in the way that sinners take, or sit in the company of mockers. That's the first one. Okay, Selma?
The second one, but who's delight in the law of the Lord, and who meditates on his law day and night.
Right, next person, verse 3.
The person is like a tree planted by streams of water, which yields its fruit in season, and whose leaf does not wither. Whatever they do prospers.
That's right. Verse 4.
Not so the wicked, they are like chaff that the wind blows away.
And the fifth one, therefore the wicked will not stand in the judgment, nor sinners in the assembly of the righteous.
Angel?
But the Lord watches over the way of the righteous, but the way of the wicked leads to destruction.
Yeah, so it's a poem written by David. And it's called, there are many different English versions. There are English translations, and this is called New International Version. So, what's the theme of this song? Guess. You can just take a guess. What's the theme? We talked about major themes of the book of Psalms before, right? What's the theme of this psalm, you think? If you get this right, we're gonna get the class over. Let me motivate you. You don't want to finish class, huh?
We have three things: joy, prayer, and prayer.
That was one part of the themes. There are other themes as well. Wickedness. Oh. You know what? So Eric and Pon and Roy and Suha and True, we're gonna take turns reading one verse each time. Okay, so this time hopefully you'll get it. All right. So Eric.
Blessed in the one who does not walk in step with
Wicked.
Wicked, or stand in the way that sinners takes, or sit on the company of mockers.
On.
But whose delight is in the law of the Lord, and who imitate on the law day and night.
Roy.
And who meditates on his law day or night.
Verse 3. On. I'm sorry, Roy. Was it Roy? Yeah. Verse 3.
Okay. The person is like a tree planted by streams of water, which yields its fruit in season, and whose leaf does not Either
Uh-huh.
whatever they do prospers.
Prosperous. That's right. Suha?
Not so the wicked. They are like chaff that the wind blows away.
Mm-hmm. You said?
Therefore the wicked will not stand in the judgment, nor sinners in the assembly of the righteous.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Will not was also the way of the righteous,
Mm-hmm.
but the way of the wicked leads to destruction.
That's right. So what do you think now? What do you think is the theme? Do you see any kind of contrast? This kind of person does that, but that kind of person does this. Do you see like someone versus someone else?
About victory.
Huh?
It's about victory.
Victory?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, ultimate victory is on the person who
Follows the laws.
yeah, follows who meditate on the law of the Lord day and night.
Is that correct, right?
Yeah.
So wrap up and go home. Help it.
That's right. Good job, Fawn. He was not like really paying attention today, but how come he got the answer? That's right. So one is blessed, the other one is cursed. One is righteous, the other is wicked. So who is the blessed one? Righteous or wicked? Righteous one is blessed. The wicked one is going to be destroyed, is what it's saying. What's the difference again? The righteous one or the blessed one meditates on the word of God day and night and follows what it says. And the wicked or the perishing, the destroyed, the one who's being destroyed is not following the word of God and is and the blessed one, the righteous one, will bear much fruit, just like good gardening, versus the way of the wicked will be destroyed, is what it's saying. Yeah, so that's the thing. All right, I picture brain enough today. Did I make you stay awake? Okay, all right. Thank you so much for your class today. Go home and have good sushi. I don't know, Chinese hot pot. Come back next time. Please be on time. Okay.